Welcome to the next episode of Just Peachy. I'm Peachie Thompson, and I'm your host. Just Peachy is a show where we interview leaders and subject matter experts in the fields of insurance, finances, and taxes. Our lifestyle section, we talk about everything and anything under the sun. And today, I am so excited to share with you our next speaker. Is the founder of Abundant Life Health, Dr. Vasco Valov. Dr. V, as we call him, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Peachy. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here with you, and I look forward to our conversation today.
Yes, Dr. V, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and your company, please.
Sure, of course. So I live here in Florida, in Jacksonville, Florida. We have been here with my wife and 2 kids for about 5 years now. Just absolutely love it. I've been in healthcare for over 15 years. I am what somebody could look at like a functional doctor, basically. I'm the founder of the HEAL protocol, which we use as a strategy to really help entrepreneurs to become superhuman. I love to help people create vibrant energy in their life and to have superior performance, mental clarity, and then of course to get to their ideal physique. And we do that in about 16 weeks. We've been doing that for a while now. And the way we accomplish that is we really help people to uncover the blocks that are holding them back. We help them balance their hormones, which is such an important piece of the puzzle. And then, of course, to optimize their daily rhythms so they can create health and ultimately to be happier and more productive and more profitable in their ventures. So that's what I do. That's what my professional life is about. I love it. I'm excited. I get to make a difference in people's lives. So it's always super rewarding. And it drives me, it moves me. And I like to see the impact that it's creating in people's lives as a result of them being healthy. So almost every day I get to talk to people that are, just seeing unbelievable things happen in their life, things that they didn't even think were possible. So that's a little bit about me and my company.
That's super awesome. I am so excited. Tell us what the HEAL, I know you've described it a little bit in broad, the HEAL protocol. So what exactly does that entail? You're managing.
Sure, that's an excellent question. So when I became a doctor, by the way, because I was first a patient. I went through my own health challenges when I was a teenager. And I didn't really know what I didn't know at the time. So there was all sorts of different treatment options that were available to me, from very invasive to, a lifetime of medications and things like that, to more natural solutions. And it just it started my journey of discovery to try to figure out this whole thing called health for myself. And ultimately, as I became healthier, I knew that I wanted to be a doctor so I can make a difference in other people's lives. And in school, we learn different principles and different strategies to help people, but we didn't really have a comprehensive way to analyze where people are and then help people get to the root of those issues and fix them, and then actually create long-term sustainable change. So what I call the HEAL protocol is really a 3-step process of going from discovery, where we assess where people are, what are the blocks that are holding them back, to actually balancing all the different dynamics of what's going on with their nutrition, with their hormones, with all of these different components of health. And then the last piece, which I think is critical, is optimization, where we really focus on optimizing rhythms so that people have short-term immediate changes, and then long-term sustainable changes. So that once people get to that point where they have some level of mastery over their health, they can actually sustain that for long-term.
So thank you.
That's in a nutshell.
Yes. So what would you say is the most common challenge that you identify, especially for, let's say, executives or working moms, working dads?
I think they vary quite a bit depending on people's lifestyle and their needs. What I found for entrepreneurs, the biggest challenge is time. And I would say for a lot of people, we live in a very fast-paced world. Nowadays, if you want to have an awesome life, you have to manage multiple dynamics, right? There's the family, the work and professional life. There's so many different things that come into that. So anything that can help save people time, I think is something that people look for. So that's one thing. I think the biggest challenge, though, if I look at the broad picture that applies to everybody, is that people don't always necessarily know what the root issues that are impacting their life are. So somebody might come to me, for example, with, they want to lose weight, for example. It's a simple example. But just working out and burning calories doesn't necessarily mean that they're fixing the root issues. So the root issue in a situation like that could be hormone imbalance, or it could be that there's levels of toxicity that have accumulated in their body. So I think the biggest problem that people face in terms of actually getting healthy and looking at everything is getting to the root issues and then figuring out a plan to solve them. So one of the things I love to say is that I can't fix a problem that I don't know exists. So That's always what I would refer to as the starting point. That's where we get started.
Yes, so hormones really do play a big part in the way your body reacts to things, or how much you weigh. And I know with COVID-19 hitting us this past couple of years, that people have gained a lot of weight. I know I have, right? So that's very near and dear to me, thinking about, okay, perhaps, and I exercise, and I'm sure a lot of viewers can relate to this. I can exercise. I do watch what I eat. But then, I think there's something else underneath that's just not, once you hit that 40, 41, 42, it seems like something has changed. 10 years ago, I do the same exact thing and I wouldn't gain an ounce, right? But now something's not right. So could you give us a little bit of an insight on how that works, for our viewers?
Yeah, absolutely. I think hormones are becoming more and more of an issue over time. There is this entire group of chemicals that are called endocrine disrupting chemicals, and they basically influence our endocrine system, how our hormones work. They can influence our sex hormones like progesterone and estrogen and testosterone. They can influence our adrenal hormones like DHEA and cortisol. They can influence our thyroid. So as we have more and more toxins that are introduced into our environment every year or every decade, I think it's becoming more and more of a problem. And I think a lot of people are really starting to look at that. There's conversations that are happening in the healthcare space around hormones and the importance of getting those balanced. I think that some of the symptoms that people start to experience as a result of their hormones are things that are generally annoying enough where people want to see them change. So when people start digging a little bit deeper, they start to realize, oh, wow, maybe it's my hormones. And with COVID, the other thing that we've noticed is a change in our lifestyle. People can be more sedentary nowadays. There's a blending of work and home time. So people are on their phones and checking emails. I don't know about you, I'm guilty of that. Like late night, I should be going to sleep and my mind should be winding down. And instead I'm like, oh, I have this one email I wanted to respond to. In fact, I just did that yesterday with a patient that had some questions. I think the stress levels and just some of these different dynamics, they're really influencing us, and they play a role into not only how we feel, but more importantly, how our body is functioning on the inside. And the reason why I say that's more important is because sometimes we can feel good, but actually have underlying issues that we're not aware of. And I think that's another blind spot for many people that leads people down this path of thinking like, okay, I can really push the limits here with my body, with my mind, but eventually that does catch up to us. And I think that's an important distinction and awareness that a lot of people, especially in this younger generation, are having. And I think my generation, like people are actually looking ahead. They're thinking about their health. They're much more proactive and engaged with their health. And I love that. I think it's actually a really healthy trend.
If I were listening to us right now and I'm thinking, I'm going to my next doctor's appointment, should I be telling my doctor, hey doc, please make sure you check my hormones, because you never know.
Yes. So I'm a huge fan of rhythms. If something is part of my daily rhythm or weekly rhythm or monthly rhythm, I don't have to think about it and it just happens. Right. So for example, my wife and I, several years ago, we started doing coffee dates. So once a month, we'll sit down for 2 hours, just the two of us, and we'll talk about the most important areas of our life, our relationship, our health, our finances, our kids, like all these different dynamics. And that's an example of a rhythm that we just have in place that's really helpful. One of the other rhythms that I have is every year or every 2 years, we'll do certain tests to see what's going on with hormones, toxicities, micronutrient deficiencies, and we'll test things that are relevant to us based on where we are. So that's without a doubt something I would recommend. I think that if people look at the number of symptoms that are possibly related to hormone imbalances, it's quite an extensive list. Even just taking a look at just one of those hormones, let alone a combination of hormones, which they tend to interact with each other. I think that for anyone that's struggling with weight loss, with fatigue, with headaches, with any type of like chronic pain and discomfort or sleep issues, digestive issues, that's just such an important part of the puzzle, is to assess what's going on with the hormones.
Excellent, excellent. I'm going to have to keep that in mind. So, Dr. V, tell us what emerging patterns in healthcare are right now.
Sure. When I look at the healthcare landscape, I would say there are several trends that are just front and center right now. One of the trends is digital health. I think it's a huge opportunity for tech startups that have machine learning capabilities and are doing data management. So that's definitely one of the trends that I see. Another trend is telehealth and virtual care. I think they're actually projected to have revenue growth over 100%. Which is 10 times higher than things like hospitals and retail clinics and ambulatory services and some of these other, health businesses, if you will. So I think telehealth and virtual care is here to stay. And I think there's a lot of positives that are coming out of that. And another trend I would say is that there's a shift from third-party payment models to more of a self-pay model, because I think some people want either quicker or more personalized service and experience. So I'm seeing that as a trend as well. But I would say that people in general are demanding more convenient service. They want to work with competent professionals. They want to be able to access data quickly and across different providers. Quick results, definitely. People want almost immediate results. And then, of course, there's another interesting trend in healthcare, which is the more natural solutions. So I think people are becoming more and more aware of the fact that that's an option before they go to more aggressive approaches.
Natural solutions. So that's, I've heard that before. And I actually have a friend that, a family friend that had cancer and decided to go the natural solution way. Sure. Although he was much older, he was in his 70s and was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and eventually decided, I don't want to have chemo. I don't want to deal with this other than just going through the natural solutions. So would you enlighten us a little bit about how that works?
Sure. Yeah. When I think about the health care industry, I think about 3 tiers in healthcare. If I look at tier number 1, it would be really more focused on managing crisis. Tier number 2 would be more like focused on reducing risk and exposure. And then tier number 3 would be actually building and proactively improving health. So like wellness, if you will. At the bottom tier, and in fact, everything with COVID right now is pretty evident through those 3 tiers. So in COVID right now, in the hospitals, if people are in a crisis, there's protocols to help people with that. So that would be the crisis management. Our goal there is just to save someone's life. Mm-hmm. The second tier, the goal is to really reduce risk. So with COVID, we think about what's being talked about right now is wearing masks, social distancing, getting the jab, etc. So that's to reduce the risk of exposure or reduce the risk of having a more severe reaction. And then the third tier, which I think deserves way more attention than it's getting, is to actually promote health and to build health and wellness. And the way we do that is by making sure that we boost our immune system, making sure that we're proactive about having good food into our bodies and making sure that we're staying active to move our lymphatic system and drain any toxins and basically boost our immunity so that wherever we are in the spectrum, if we were to get exposed, that our body has the best chance to heal. So when I think about natural solutions, that's really what I think about is how do we build health? How do we take our immune system from 80% to 90% or higher? How do we improve our hormones and balance those? And there's different strategies for that. I think that they're pretty straightforward as far as the big picture. It's in the nuances where people get lost sometimes. But, we have healthy mindset, getting some rest and sleep, making sure that we're staying active, even though it doesn't have to be an intense workout or, a CrossFit type intense workout. And then making sure that we're eating some good, clean foods that are nourishing our body or getting supplements to fill in the gaps on things that we might be missing. So those would be the big picture things. Mm-hmm.
So just like my mom used to tell me, prevention is better than cure. So yes, it sounds to me that it is definitely somewhere along those lines.
Yes, what's the saying? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, something like that.
Right, yeah. right.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's interesting too, since you bring that up, Peachie. I think the statistics actually reflect that to be the case. A while ago, I wanted to understand what we're doing in healthcare, like how effective is it, and how do I actually measure it? Mm-hmm. So I was surprised to find that medical expenses are the number one cause of bankruptcy in the United States. So yes. Over 60% of bankruptcies are because of a health crisis, right? So a lot of people are literally a health crisis away from bankruptcy, which is wild to think about. And then the other thing is that there's certain things that we're doing that increase the risk of us getting sicker. So anything that we can do to reduce that risk so that we can avoid crisis, I think is important for us to focus on. In fact, I think especially for high performers, being healthy gives them such an edge in everything else that they're trying to do. So. Oh,
I agree 100%. And speaking of high performance performers, Dr. V, mm-hmm. Why do high performers work with consultants like you? I know you mentioned people now want more information quicker, access to professionals, but tell us why they would work with someone like you.
That's a great question because I think that there's a certain mindset that's associated with that. In high performers, they're just focused on hitting targets, hitting the goals, and they're always looking for an edge. So they want to find the quickest path to their desired outcome. I think that high performers also recognize that time is their most precious possession, right? So they don't want to waste it trying to figure out everything on their own. Unless they're an expert in the area, then they dive all in. I know for myself, every important area in my life, I either have a coach or I have a mentor, and that way I can condense all of the decades of their life experiences and wisdom that they have accumulated into just simple principles that I can use in my daily life. So I think that's another reason. When I work with Team USA, the judo team, in 2011, 12, leading up to the Olympics, and after that, I work with the Boston Bruins as well, I realized just how many experts they have as part of their team so that everybody can be at their absolute best all the time. And I couldn't appreciate that before seeing high performers in action at that level, just how much effort it took from other people to make sure that the athlete in that case could perform at their best. So I think at some point I just realized how much time and money all of us invest in our education, in our businesses, so that we can create a better life for ourselves and also for our families, for our communities. But I think that investing in our health is right up there as one of those most important areas in our life. So I guess to summarize it, I would just say that, people come to us so that they can increase the likelihood of them getting healthy and staying healthy. They also want to reduce the amount of time that it takes for them to get there. And then the last piece of that puzzle is that they want to reduce the amount of effort and sacrifice that they need to go through to reach their goals. So I think that's why people look for someone to guide them in whatever endeavor they're seeking, in this case, healthcare.
That makes perfect sense. It really does. So if someone's listening to you right now, Dr. V, mm-hmm. and they're thinking, geez, now I want to turn my health around because I'm guilty of a lot of the things he just said. So kind of thinking that right now. So where do they start?
I think 80% of success is really mindset, and then the other 20% is the execution piece. I think mindset has to be the first thing. When I first started working with people, I asked them to give me some information so I get a sense of where they are. And I asked them for some feedback on the paperwork of how healthy they believe they are. And most of the time, people tell me they're a 6, 7, or an 8, which statistically, it's impossible for everybody to be there, right? But what I recognize is that the way that we look at our health is just based on how we feel. And the example I like to give regarding that is that take anybody that had a heart attack yesterday, right? If we just look at how they were feeling like hours before the heart attack, chances are they were feeling okay, didn't know what was going to happen, right? Or days before. So, however, during that time when they were feeling okay, they had years of accumulated damage in the heart tissue that now led to a heart attack. Or we can even look at stage 3 or stage 4 cancer, where sometimes people don't know they have something going on inside their bodies, and then finally gets to the point where they realize that. So I think when crisis hits, it's the absolute worst time for us to focus on our health, because the options are so limited and everything is high risk, right? So what we want to do is just take a good hard look, especially this time of the year around the holidays. What's really important to me? How am I doing in my health? Should my health be the number one priority in my life? And if it's not right now, like, where is it? So how can I prioritize things for myself so that I can create some room for me to really focus on this area? And then once people have that and are clear around what their outcomes are, for some people, the outcome is to just stay healthy so they can continue to do what they love. For others, it might be to really overcome some serious health challenge. So once we know what the outcome is, then it would be to actually find somebody that can drill down deep on understanding what the root issues are. Because if we're not addressing the root issues, we're just masking symptoms. And masking symptoms can never lead to long-term health. And it's an entirely different concept than actually healing. So the outcome for me would be, like in my health, is to be healthy. I don't want to cover up symptoms by taking supplements or drinking coffee to get my energy, or finding these hacks. I want to build health so that I am at my best as much as possible and reduce the chance of having issues. So that would be the mindset there. And I think it's important also for people to find help and to have somebody in their corner that understands their outcomes and their values. One of my friends said to me a long time ago that a person that doesn't understand my values or my outcomes is not qualified to give me advice. And I live my life by that now, because I realize that, we all have slightly different ways of looking at life in the world. So if I'm looking to get healthy, that's very different than me looking to treat a symptom or a disease or manage a disease for life. So those outcomes are actually really important distinctions. And that's why I say mindset has to be the first thing. And then after that, drill down on discovery.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. I am now very much inspired to think, how I've been working on my health and my priority. And you're absolutely right, Dr. V. The holidays is a good time for us to really just sit down and take the time to cogitate on things and say, what's most important to me? And speaking of which, so now once someone has done that, how do they get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you?
If somebody wants to get a hold of me, probably the best way is to just send an email, support@drvasco.com. It's just pretty straightforward. And then depending on what people's needs are, sometimes we just offer some advice and point people in the right direction. Sometimes people do need some guidance along the way. And some people just want, really hold my hand through this whole process, help me figure this out and turn my health around in 3 to 4 months. So whatever it is, if people just reach out, support Dr. Vasco, we're happy to help. No problem.
Excellent. This has been super cool for me. I learned I learned a lot in a very short amount of time that we're chatting here. So thank you for for this. I appreciate it a lot. So, is there anything else that you'd like to add before I say goodbye, at least for now?
I can't think of anything specific I want to say. I just want to pour into people and encourage people and just say that if you're listening to this right now and you are going through a health challenge, the likelihood of you being having a healthy version of you is extremely high. I think often we underestimate what our bodies are capable of doing when we start doing the right things. And almost 100%, when people go through a process of healing, they'll get to like the 3-4 month mark and they'll turn around and they'll say, I couldn't even believe that it was possible for me to feel this good, like physically and emotionally. Because when people start doing the right things, the body responds so quick. So we're designed to be healthy. Being healthy is possible, and it can happen way quicker than we anticipate. So I just encourage people to have more faith in their bodies than a spoonful of medication or supplements or some of these fad diets and different things that are out there. I think if we really get connected with that we become empowered by that. And to me, I think that's the most important message that I can share to conclude our conversation today.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Dr. V. I will definitely take that to heart. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Same here. Thank you, Peachie. Have an amazing day. Happy holidays.
You too. Happy holidays. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Information shared during the show are opinions of the speakers. They are not legal, financial, or tax advice specific to you. Consult your own specialist, attorney, accountant, financial planner, or insurance advisor for your specific situation.